Welcome to the Deep 404. Overnight, the Russian IRBM, Intermediate Range Ballistic Missile strike on Dnipro, is something to behold. I've been walking around this morning imagining if you were to go back 200 years and take some generals from war, take Napoleon or someone, or I don't know, Caesar, someone of power from the past, and bring them forward to today and show them this, or let them see what this looked like. This is some of the footage that's come out so far. There is no sound that goes with this yet, but again, another view from here. Just imagine showing this to a general from the past and saying that you could do this on your command. They would consider you to be a god. Honestly, the visuals of that are just mind-blowing. What we are dealing with here is, let's see if I can find a little bit of detail on it here, and we'll just have a quick look at what this is. A couple of pictures from Wikipedia, but I'll just, is that going to make things a little larger for us? Yeah, there we go. One moment, that's not going to work. Just try this again like this. Here we go. So, this is a type of weapon, and it looks like 6 were fired. Watching those videos before, it looks like there are 6 independent bursts. These images here aren't of the Russian Oreshnik, which is the missile that President Putin has said has been used, it's tested, an experimental weapon that's been tested over Dnipro. But these images here are of an American, I believe, Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. Now, the missile that was fired overnight wasn't an ICBM, it wasn't an Intercontinental Ballistic Missile. It was an intermediate range, so a range of 3,000 to 5,500 kilometers. It doesn't look like the Americans were warned about this. It doesn't look like the Americans necessarily picked up on this and thought this was an ICBM, a nuclear threat, because there was no response. It seems as though what was sent was unexpected, no warning. President Putin actually mentions in TASS, the Russian state newspaper, reports that President Putin said, he said, "We will issue notifications before using this type of missile." I assume he means this is in the future. As my understanding is that no notification was issued to Ukraine or America before this one was launched, which I think is part of the message that was being sent. He did say, "We will do it due to humanitarian concerns, openly, publicly, without any concerns about any countermeasures from the enemy." So here he's talking about announcing they're going to use one of these IRBM missiles. Without any concerns about countermeasures from the enemy, who will also receive this information or warning. He went on to say, why without any concerns? Because there are currently no countermeasures for this weapon at this moment. He has announced that it is an IRBM. It's their newest missile. It's called the Oreshnik. He said, in combat conditions, a test was carried out of one of the latest Russian intermediate range missile systems, in this case with a non-nuclear hypersonic version of a ballistic missile. So this is a ballistic missile. It is hypersonic. That's what's inside the warhead, or at least perhaps not. What are we seeing here? 3, 6, 9, 10. Perhaps not 10 warheads. In the ones that we saw in the video there, maybe it looked more like there was 6 or 8 warheads per missile. But there's also a good, that's one being launched from a submarine. Here's a good image of kind of how it all hangs together. So the different stages and the different components of the missile, a number of boost stages, A, B, and C on the left, E being a shroud or fairing over the missiles, and then D, the actual warheads. What it seems like has happened with this test that the Russians have carried out is that they have used just metal inert warheads. It looks as though they have fired out with test warheads which were non-explosive. I'm just speculating on this, but the reason I'm suggesting that is that when you look at the video footage, I think it is this one where we might actually get, yeah, here you can see there just after impact, you can see there is some light explosion on the ground, but no large explosion. So I'm suggesting that what has happened is in this test, they are just using metal warheads and it's pure kinetic energy impacting the ground there. No additional explosives being triggered, no bunker busting capabilities or thermobaric capabilities. This is just almost like the, similar in some respects to the rods from God concept, where I think tungsten rods would be launched from low orbit and they would just attain such velocity and such kinetic energy that they would do massive damage on their own. Now, as to what damage was done by these, I don't know. I haven't seen any footage or photographs of that yet, but you could imagine that if they were employing high explosive warheads, the damage would be significant. I imagine the holes left in the ground purely by these rods hitting, well, rods or cones hitting the ground would be significant. The Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told the TASS newspaper of Russia that no, there have been no notifications, for Russia has no such obligation with regard to intermediate range missiles. So I guess here, if it had been an ICBM and they were firing it, I imagine there is some sort of agreement between the United States and Russia that they will inform one another so that they can be made aware of why it's being sent, where it's being sent, so as to avoid an uncontrollable tit-for-tat nuclear response. Whether that is the case or not, I don't know, but I'm suggesting that with the intermediate range ones, because they have a maximum range of reportedly 5,500 kilometers, then perhaps not likely to be used to strike the United States. I don't know. I would have to do some more research on that. But a very interesting response to the West's, or Joe Biden's decision to allow Ukraine to use ATACMS and long-range American missiles to attack within Russia's territory. A lot of people online have been saying that there would be no response from Russia, that President Putin is weak and he's just bluffing, and that this red line of using long-range American missiles, there'll be no response to that. I think the response that's been given here is a very balanced, measured, a well-handled response. The response here is saying, well, if you want to use your long-range missiles on us, this is our capabilities. Here's a test of hypersonic, multiple warhead, intermediate range. It's got 5,500 kilometer range. If we draw out, let's say from Dnipro, which is right here, let's go from Moscow here. Let's just say they're firing them from Moscow. I don't know where they're firing them from, but at 2,000 kilometers, you know, we're getting into Germany and Denmark and Sweden, and Finland's covered easily. Can I hide that? Perhaps not. Let me just move the map a little bit. Again, if we're here, Spain, London's at under 3,000 kilometres. So this is well within the range. So this is what the Russians have effectively said in response to Joe Biden authorising long-range missiles is, look, we can reach out and touch the UK or Spain or anywhere in between with one of these missiles. It's not even an ICBM. So I think it's a pretty strong message that has been sent, and I think, as I say, I think it's a balanced one and not necessarily an escalatory message. You know, if they had said, well, we've told you that if you allow US long-range missiles to be used and you've done that, that we will consider the US to be a combatant in this war, and therefore your men and your bases are legitimate targets. If the Russians had gone over after some US bases in Europe or in the Middle East because of this, I think that would have been far more escalatory than this demonstration. Again, very, very mature and measured response is how I would put it. All right, just a quick show there today. I'll talk to you again soon.